Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Poe, and today I'm doing weeks 38 and 39 of my 2023 reads. Last week I was a little bit busy and didn't get a chance to sit down and film, but I also didn't get that much of a chance to read either, so it ended up working out okay. So I'm going to wrap up books from both weeks today. Timestamps and content warnings are in the description box below. First, I reread one of my favorite books, which is Fluff by Dagger. This is the first book in a lit RPG series that I absolutely love. And this time, my husband, Sush, read this out loud to me. We both previously read the book on our own, but reading it out loud and just enjoying that story together was so much fun. This is just the sweetest, funniest, cutest story. It's about a girl, Emily, who's just starting college. And right before college starts, she's just moved into her dorm, and on Power Day, which in this world, which is basically like our own except superheroes exist, she discovers that she has been gifted with superpowers. And it's done through a lit RPG format, which means she gets like a notification, she has a status bar, that sort of thing. But she just discovers that she has a villain alignment, which she absolutely doesn't want. She's just this, really shy and kind of socially anxious person, but despite her best intentions, she starts getting pulled further and further into this world of the masks or the superheroes and villains. And she ends up using her power accidentally, which is sister summoning. And so she ends up with a couple of different sisters who are were sisters. So one is a were bear, one is a were owl, and she gets more sisters as we go. And it's just such a fun story. The sister summons are so adorable. It's so much fun. And it also has like this just really interesting world building. I think this is so fantastic. If you're looking for something that's a pick-me-up, that if you like cozy fantasy, I really highly recommend this book and the whole series. I have a series review for it, so I will link that down below if you're interested. I, on reread, gave this still 5 out of 5 stars. It's such a great read. Next, I read Treat Your Own Neck by McKenzie. This is a very short nonfiction book about kind of neck pain. So I have been dealing with some headaches, and in some materials that my doctor's office had provided, this was one of the resources recommended to kind of find some stretches to do for your neck to help with neck pain and with headaches. And so I got the book. I think that it is fantastically illustrated. So there's great photos throughout demonstrating the different kind of neck stretches and what to do. There's also quite a lot in it about posture and how important that is. It's quite simple, quite short. I think that in terms of what it's offering, it does fine, but it also has a little bit of a salesy type of pitch. Like there's a lot of, and buy the McKenzie pillow and do it the McKenzie way and these sorts of things. That's a little bit annoying. But I think that as a book about how to do a couple of stretches, it is fine. I think that even though it's quite short, it was still a little long for what it actually was. I mean, it was really just a couple of stretches. And if I had just known what to search for, I just would have Googled it and that would have been fine. But still, I thought it was interesting, the stuff about posture and everything like that as well. So I gave this 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think that totally they did a good job. I think the illustrations are great. But again, you could just maybe YouTube stuff. Then I did have a couple of DNFs, starting with Pageboy by Elliot Page. This is a memoir of Elliot Page's life, and I think that there's a lot of really interesting stuff that is going on in this memoir, but I only got 28% in before I realized that I just wasn't up to it. Page went through a lot of really traumatic experiences in his life, and I think that he was a very vulnerable person. That means that telling his story, you get really immersed in the heaviness of it, in the trauma of it, and that just got very overwhelming for me. I think that his story is so worth listening to, and just the experiences that he's gone through and his perspective, and really just how Hollywood treats people and abuses people. I think all of that is so worth listening to, but I was finding that I just never wanted to pick this up. It was too heavy for me. And I think also that the writing in this was just okay. I listened to this on audiobook, and so I had Paige's narration, which I think was really good. I think he was an excellent narrator of this, but it also made some of the tics of the writing kind of stand out. Like there's a lot of really short sentences all right next to each other, and so it becomes very staccato at times, which I think when having it read out to you, you really notice that rhythm. And so I kept getting distracted by the writing, as well as the sort of order, the layout of the stories within this. It's not really chronological, it jumps back and forth, and I just had a hard time kind of following those jumps. So I was having a hard time with the writing and the layout of the story, following it and being engaged, as well as when I was engaged, it was just this super heavy experience. So it ended up not working out for me, but I definitely think it's worth picking up and giving a try, and it's just a worthwhile story to listen to. And the other book that I DNF'd was Hearts on Hold by Charish Reid. This is a contemporary romance that I heard about because Cynthia at Book Whimsy was reading it and marked it as in progress on Goodreads. I'll link her channel below. I'm always interested in the romances that she's picking up. This one is one that I actually think is very worth picking up, but it ended up just stressing me out so much that I had to put it down. I think that really it's been a busy couple of weeks and I just haven't been up to things that are stressful or traumatizing. So this story is a romance about a professor in, I believe, an English department who is trying to get together this program where she can get kind of internships for her students working at a local public library, and she's trying to organize this, but she's facing a lot of just obstruction and sort of criticism and just toxic workplace environment at her work, trying to get this organized. And the romance comes in where the head of the children's literature department at that library is going to be the one setting up this program with her, and it's this really hot guy. So I think that was another thing that started getting to me a little bit, which is I hate workplace romances. It feels so unethical to me. And this I thought would be fine because they're not in a workplace, but they're having this kind of professional interaction that he starts flirting like really early on in, and I'm like, I think that's too early for me. I think that that crosses professional boundaries. So that also was, a little bit of an issue for me. But really, the toxic workplace for the heroine was just way too much for me. And also her mom is a little bit toxic too, and I was just getting so stressed out on her behalf that I wasn't up to it. So I think that this is the sort of book where it's actually really well written, and I was very intrigued by the characters and all these sorts of things, but I was looking for maybe something a little bit cozier than what this was, and maybe if I'd picked it up at a different time, it'd be better. So I'm totally interested in picking up more by Reid, but this one I think is just a little bit too stressful for me. Oh, and I got through about 15% of this. So yeah, if anybody else has read any of other Charish Reid's works and you know of one that has a little bit less stress involved in it, I would be very interested and I'd like to pick that up. So that is everything that I read and DNF these past 2 weeks. If you guys have read any of these, if you're interested in them, you want to chat with me about them, or if you want to tell me what you've been reading recently, I'd love to hear from you. Just leave me a comment down below.